Alright guys, let's see if y'all can hear me. I'm making blanks for EVA weapons, and what I've done is just go ahead and I cut on the table saw here. I have this set to 2.5 inches wide, and me and Jonathan came through and just ran through and just cut a ton of blanks. That's what all these are. So we're cutting blanks, and that makes me, when I start making my blanks, which is essentially my first step, is make a blank, it's going to be a lot faster. So then you put the blank together. The very first thing I do is I come in, I've made me a guide right here. So I got all my markings for my different lengths that I need, or rather the different standards, like longsword. For our game, longsword fits in between these two ranges here. Or rather, sorry, those ranges. That's a total overall max short sword. So really quick, I can gauge my everything. Like that weapon right there, it tells me that blade is a long sword. So all I end up having to get the rod and everything close to out here. So regardless, so I come in, I measure, take my stack, measure out where I want it, cut it, mark it, and go to the next step. The next step is to find my center point. These are 2.5 inch wide pieces, so my center point is 1.25 inches. So I went through and marked them. I quickly made me a jig, so I can come through. And really quickly make my marks, take my center, a straight edge, and draw my lines. Once I get my center points, and the reason I'm doing the center points is I glue these together before cutting out, and I use a router. I use a router to do my groove for the rod. I'm using a 3/8 rod, 3/8 carbon fiber rod. No, excuse me, not carbon fiber, fiberglass. I do have some carbon fiber, but I'm using just a pretty standard solid rod. That's what's allowed for our game. So I'm going to cut a 3/8 groove here in a minute, before I put my rod in. So what I do is I'll mark up all 3 pieces. You notice only the white, which is my center, has it all the way down, because that's where I need to know where to run my groove. Of course, granted, if I was making a katana or saber, I wouldn't do dead center. I'd go off the side, but these are just straight, classic, straight edges, double bladed edges, very traditional, just standard crap. So I mark my centers and also come off 2.5 inches, and that's going to be my top. So that's my rod will stop there. I'll go ahead and reinforce with some gaff tape. I cut it and then go in here and put those in there like that. And these are my outsides, so I'll sandwich it in like that, and that's reinforcing my rod there. And then the next step is to glue it all together. To start with, I'm only going to glue half of it. So I'm going to glue the inside of one and then the non-marked side of my white. That way when I lay them on top, I want this on top so I can see my lines. Always run at least 2 layers of your DAP. I found a good deal on a gallon, so I jumped on it. The first layer is going to absorb in pretty good, and you don't want to put your second layer in until it's dry. Like, I don't feel wet on there at all. It's not, a lot of people assume it's gluey, it's sticky. It's not. It's contact sealant. It sticks to itself. So I'll let that dry, and I always do in batches, so I got several going on right now. I'll put a second layer on and then carefully put it back together. What I do is I'll mark my edges, and that'll allow me to line those back up. I'll line those back up when I go put them together. So that's what I'm doing. That's how you make a blank. You'll end up with, you know, I don't have any blanks made yet, but you'll end up with a popsicle, essentially. And then you can go and cut it or sand it, or, you know, take it to a knife to it, whatever you want to do. Now, if you don't have a router, you can do the exact same thing on here. You can still just hand cut this out. Whether you want to hand cut it out before gluing it together, that is entirely up to you. I was doing that initially because that's how I was taught, to make a groove, glue the rod on there, and then put them all together. Man, I was having so much issues with that. It just doesn't work good to me. I'm too clumsy, I guess. Gluing the rod in there while it's stuck together seems to work really good to me. So yeah, that's how I make a blank. All right, peace.